I suddenly felt liberated from this paralysis by analysis. Like I suddenly went, actually, I just need to start.
In today's guest, we have Charlie Goodchild, a London-based physiotherapist who went from working solo in a rented clinic room to building a team of 9 and generating over $350K in revenue, all bootstrapped during the pandemic. He's also a podcast host and a dad of 2, proving that passion and persistence can scale into something far bigger.
When did you actually realize that I can't do this? I want to just have my own business. What was that point in time?
I guess it started with a passion to try and be the best physio I could be in a time frame that would suit my need for learning. I thought, hang on, I maybe could set up a business. So
in this episode, we dive into Charlie's journey, from hitting a glass ceiling to scaling a business, building a brand, leading a team, and the challenges of turning passion into grow.
Be genuine. Actually care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Hey everyone, today's guest is Charlie Goodchild, a physiotherapist who went from solo practitioner in a rented clinic room to building a team of 9 and growing a micro business that's now pushing beyond $350K in revenue. He's the founder of a London-based physio and performance brand called Better, the host of his own podcast, and a dad of 2 who built all of this without external investment. And that too during the pandemic. Today, we talk about bootstrapping, brand building, client loyalty, and what happens when your passion for people start to clash with your need to scale. Charlie, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here today.
Thanks for inviting me. Yeah, I'm excited to tell my story.
Awesome. Let's start with the beginning. When did you actually realize that, I can't do this? I want to just have my own business. What was that point in time?
I guess it started with a passion to try and be the best physio I could be. And I was scratching around at university trying to figure out what I want to do with my sports science degree and realized that probably wasn't going to be sports science. So I went into physiotherapy because I wanted to help people. I also love sport. I had a real passion for it when I was younger and found that those two could combine really well. I remember watching the Arsenal physio step onto the pitch and think, I'm not good enough to play for Arsenal, but maybe I could be in the backroom team. So yeah, it made sense to me at that stage. And I became the head physio there and enjoyed then passing on some of my knowledge to some of the team around me. And I just kept realizing I'd hit a glass ceiling. I wasn't going to progress any further within that company, certainly not in a time frame that would suit my need for learning. And I was running out of time in my day to really serve that learning and to help people in the way I wanted to help them. And I thought, well, I guess I might have to leave and join another company. And then I thought, hang on, I'm at one of London's leading physio companies. Where else is there?
Right.
And I started to put those bits of information together and thought, hang on, I maybe could set up a business. So it's probably a slightly atypical journey into kind of stumbling into realizing that a business was my answer, my way of helping more people. And as soon as I started, I realized this is really for me. I never really thought it was for me. I always thought that was for people who were interested in earning money, and that wasn't really me. I just wanted to be a really good physio. And yeah, then I thought, actually, it's not that I want to be a really good physio. I really want to learn. And that entrepreneurial journey is essentially infinite learning. So that's what I've realized in the last 3 years of running this business, is that I may have slowed down my physio learning, but I've massively accelerated my business learning.
Love it. And so you're 60 episodes in on the podcast, you've got your business running in. What is that moment in time where one realizes that switch needs to happen? And what was it for you where you said, this is enough?
There was a period in the January of that year where my daughter was just turned 1, where I was thinking, I'm probably reaching this glass ceiling that I mentioned. It wasn't that I was not enjoying what I wanted to do. I just felt like I'd stopped learning again and couldn't really fulfill my potential. And that probably 3 to 4 months was really quite confusing, actually. I was thinking, maybe I do need to set up practice. Maybe it's going to be near where I live. Maybe it's going to be London. And I just couldn't really get my head around it. So I started just talking to people that I trusted about some ideas and just almost pitching it, I guess. And there was a knee consultant that I work with, got on really well with. And he just said, hang on a minute, just stop. It sounds like you are completely confused about what you really want to do. How about you just go and speak to this other physio I know, because he's done this already. He'll be able to help you. He then put me in touch with this physio that I didn't know of, but I'd never met before. And he very kindly gave me a morning just to pitch my idea again. I guess this kind of parent logic of, I need to wait until my daughter has finished nursery because it's expensive and setting up a clinic is stressful and maybe it'll be right in a few years. And he just went, why? And he told me this story about how someone had helped him with this very similar dilemma. And the guy said the same thing. Stop complaining about it. Just just start. If you're ready, just get going and just start. So that was this, and I walked away from that meeting. Well, I guess that moment, that day was day one, because it was this, I suddenly felt liberated from this paralysis by analysis. Like I suddenly went, actually, I just need to start. So that was day one of the business of, okay, let's just start making some research into where I could set up. There was probably a 3-month period where I had to hand my notice in. I had to switch to being a contractor at my old business.
Awesome. And then let's talk about, what did day one of your business look like? A laptop in a cafe, or what was it? A first client in a spare room? What was it?
I guess that moment, that day was day one, because it was this, I suddenly felt liberated from this paralysis by analysis. Like I suddenly went, actually, I just need to start. So that was day one of the business of, okay, let's just start making some research into where I could set up. There was probably a 3-month period where I had to hand my notice in. I had to switch to being a contractor at my old business. They allowed me to stay on for a couple of days a week whilst I set up my new business, which I think suited both parties. I was a busy clinician there, so I was earning them money. It suited me because it was bridging the gap between setting up my own thing entirely. And so I was started off a couple of days a week in August of that year, then quickly realized I think I need 3 because people are actually coming. So that was quite good. But yeah, then it was a gradual phase. And I think by the February of next year, I was full time in my own business. And it kind of made sense because it was the busiest and most stressed I'd ever been.
Wow. Yeah. How did you go about actually attracting clients? Because it needs a lot of marketing and sales on the back of it too.
By that point, I've been a physio in London for well over 10 years. So the word of mouth is incredibly powerful. So people start to want to come and work with you wherever you are, rather than being loyal to a company. They're often loyal to the clinician, and I think we'll probably come to this later. That's a great thing for me getting started up on my own, but actually as a business, it's then really a tricky dilemma, because the reality is that most people will be loyal to their physios. It's a tricky situation, but certainly in the early stages, it was really beneficial for me. People trusted me already, so they moved with me sometimes. But actually, what the most powerful thing that I did was started to capture reviews for me. And reviews are like commonplace, standard. People won't be surprised to hear that reviews are an effective way of marketing. They don't really want to deal with the stuff that wraps around that in like a marketing or sales way. It's almost sales is a bit of a dirty word within healthcare. It's something that took me a long time to get over myself, actually, that we're just selling ourselves, and we're selling our expertise. We're not selling a product. The product is us.
Right.
So it's a very interesting dilemma that I've toyed with in my own mind, but also have spoken openly about it with other people as well.
Great. Okay. What's your rating right now on Google or Trustpilot for better?
I use Doctify. So Doctify is a healthcare review service, and we use Google reviews as well. So we have over 100 reviews and now in 5-star reviews on Google, and I think I'm the top rated physio in London.
Love it.
I'm yet to have a less than 5-star review, so that I think in the end it doesn't really pan out that there's anything to worry about, and like the very occasional negative review people might get.
Absolutely. Yeah, great story. Talk to me about what's something you believed about running a business in 2021 that you now know is total BS.
Yeah, so I guess there was a bit of a naivety early on where when you're trying to bring people on, certainly the first person I brought on was someone I knew really well.
Mm-hmm.
He was probably a friend more than a colleague, and then he became a colleague. And one of the tricky things that happens is that when you don't really understand money, you want to give that person you think it's a fair pay. You think, you're an excellent provider. Here's what I think is a good percentage. And then as those numbers start to pan out, you realize, hang on a minute, the business makes almost nothing because we're paying all the rent, we're paying your membership fee for the facility we're at, we're paying all the marketing, the admin costs, the email system, we're paying for the booking system. And these costs really add up. You start to do the math and you go, hang on, the business makes nothing out of this. Like this doesn't work out. And it's that naivety of really not understanding money in any way whatsoever. And then having to have a really difficult conversation and say, I'm actually paying you too much. I actually need to pay you less. I'm really sorry. That's my issue. I just did the maths wrong. Mm-hmm. So there's some tricky stuff that you just learn because, as you mentioned earlier, I've bootstrapped this business and I've I've essentially learned from nothing. I haven't really had any mentors per se, so it's just learning on the job. So you make a lot of mistakes in order to learn how to run a business.
Great. Let's talk about that part, right? So what have you been doing to enhance your business acumen and skills since you first started off?
I guess I'd already started some of that brand creation work, and I've done a bit of creativity work on, like, I've designed my own logo, for example, and I actually quite enjoyed that process. But I really love reading, so I've been reading a lot of business books, probably for the last 5 years. Some of them maybe not deliberately business until recent times, but certainly leadership style books that I've really enjoyed. The Simon Sinek book, Start With Why, was a real catalyst for me understanding why I do what I do. And I had this phrase in my head called "better never ends." I used to work for England Futsal, and the head coach, he used to say, Michael Scubala, he used to say to the players, keep working hard, better never ends. There's always something to learn. And it was just a phrase that stuck in my head. And when I was reading this book, it kept coming back to me. Is that why I do what I do? Is that why I make the decisions I make, the thing that helps me choose in life? And it kept coming back. So I coined that phrase for myself, better never ends. It became the tagline and the domain name for our website. And we then shortened the brand name to Better. But yeah, that's really where that all came from. So I would say reading and podcasts have been a huge inspiration for me, just to help to really direct my thoughts and channel my direction in business.
What are the other top 2 books you would recommend to entrepreneurs starting off?
I've read a book called Profit First last year, which I said earlier how bad I was around money. Money doesn't really motivate me that much, but what I've realized is that doesn't mean I should not understand it. It's a fantastic book because it just gave me a structure. It just gave me a structure to follow. And the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Good to Great, was more business, but both influential in what I do now. Yeah.
What's been the most valuable, scrappy decision you've had so far?
Realizing that certain jobs I cannot do. Earlier this year, there was a realization that, I think we touched on it earlier, that people are loyal to the clinician, right? So if that clinician decides to leave for whatever reason, the business goes with them. Often, at least 95% of that business follows the person, like it happened with me. So realizing that the brand needs to stand on its own 2 feet regarding lead generation. You can't just rely on the person bringing in those leads and then they take them with them if they do move on. So there's 2 points to that. Firstly, how do we then market more efficiently, which we've started to do this year. We've started to invest in marketing with a company that have really helped us. The second part is, how do you keep the people in the first place? Get the right people on the bus and keep them on the bus. And how do you make the bus entertaining enough for them to want to stay on it? And that's something, if I can get those 2 things right, I think we will continue to grow as a business and be able to then scale in the future. And my real passion is helping as many people as possible solve their pain problems. And the only way I can do that is by growing a team and scaling a business. So realizing that I do have to think more like a business rather than just a physio that wants to help people has really been the main change in my mindset.
Excellent. On what basis do you go about hiring them? Obviously, keeping your brand name in the forefront.
Lucky. So the most recent physio that joined the team was the first one that we've actually recruited. That everyone else has been people that I knew already and had a relationship with, and they were aware of what we were doing or were specifically recommended to me. So I've been very lucky that I've essentially had people come to me, or I've maybe dropped a little word in someone's ear and they've been open to the possibilities.
Okay. And how do you deal with negativity coming off either from your team or even from your clients? I know you got a high positive rating over 4.
It's an opportunity to learn. So I fully welcome people disagreeing with me. I think it's the way that we get better in what we do. If we can't say better never ends as physios and then say, no, we don't want to hear your negativity, stay away. So embrace it. Any negativity is an opportunity to learn, even if it's hard to hear at the time. Luckily, we haven't had too much of it, but there's certainly been times where people do disagree with me, and that's totally fine.
Good. What are your processes, the checkpoints, or kind of brand building activities that you have to say that client is one of a better way of putting it, rather than going with himself or with herself alongside to the next clinic?
Yeah, it's probably the main thing that we've tried to focus on in our branding and our marketing, is that better means better quality physiotherapy. And our first tagline was healthcare, but better. It was really trying to lean on the fact that sometimes healthcare is quite poor quality. And that's not the fault of the provider necessarily. That's often the fault of the private medical insurance market. For physiotherapy, the cost, the price they pay is really quite low on average. Mm-hmm. So when I originally started the business, I didn't want to do the high volume, low price PMI work. So I thought that I was setting up a business that would be self-funded entirely. I then realized that there are some medical insurers that do pay the rates that you set and do allow you to deliver high quality services. So, but I think the terminology of coach fits much better with the way that I now practice and the way that the business now promotes a different type of physiotherapy in the market. So we're really marketing ourselves at people who want that higher quality physio, who want to be coached. They're not scared of doing some of the work themselves. They're looking to have someone support them through their journey of recovery. And that's much more aligned with the coaching mentality. So we end up getting a lot of people who have had other physio before and it hasn't worked out. So we see complex cases, chronic pain, long-term injury rehab.
Whole journey. Has there been any moment where you thought maybe you throw everything back and it's too hard, I want to go back to the full-time job?
Run my own business was liberating, and it was an incredible moment where I realized I had an infinite journey of learning ahead of me, which is ultimately why I do what I do in life. There has certainly been times where I've been tested and thought, not necessarily I need to give it all up, but am I doing this right? Am I making the right choices here? You want to do the right thing by everyone, and that's impossible. So sometimes you end up upsetting people, and sometimes they upset you. So that's probably been the hardest part when it's tested me more than anything is, am I really doing the right thing here by attention? And you have to come away with the fact that I can't help everyone. I just have to do things the way that I believe is right. Yes. and in line with the business values.
Well, what's been the kind of biggest challenge where you are today in your business right now?
I guess all of it is a challenge. I mean, that's a bit too cliched for me to want to give that answer. The biggest challenge has come with people wanting to leave and having to get over my own personal pride being hurt and realizing that it's just a learning opportunity. That they've been the biggest challenges, is trying to create a business that people really believe in and want to hang around in. And as you mentioned already, I have a team that is still very much happy, but getting over my ego that not everyone is going to want to be in this business forever. And it's just a natural cycle that people go through, and just realizing that it's a learning opportunity to sharpen those recruitment tools that we'll have for the future.
Yes, makes sense. And when it comes to your team, right, even though they're outsourced, contractor-based therapist, how much time do you as the founder of the company, spend on training them up?
I do 3 days as a clinician still, something that in the future I'd love to reduce to 2 days, just to give me more time with the team, actually. I do 1 day working from home, and I have a day where it's today, actually. So today is like a non-clinical day where I'll spend time with the team and meet with them. One of the physios is also our clinical lead, so he does a lot of the development work as well, more of the clinical development. And then I'll spend time with them more on the business side and the personal development as well. Okay. Yeah, it's probably about a day a week to some degree that I'm thinking or working with the team. I'd love for that to be a bit more, actually, because I think that's my main vision for the future and for our success is to be the best physio company in London. And for that to happen, I need to attract the best physios in London, and I then need to keep the best physios in London. The way I'm going to do that is to really look after them and really think about helping them have the best experience possible too. And for me to then really look after them and make sure they're happy. Daniel Pink, another book, Daniel Pink, Drive, argued very effectively that people really want, once you pay people fairly, you have to pay people fairly in order to be able to earn the right for the next phase. They then want to be autonomous, they want to master in skills, and they want a purpose that's greater than themselves. So if I can help with those three things, if I can deliver those as a business owner, then I think I'll look after more physios and keep them for longer, and therefore be able to grow and really deliver on my promise or my quest of being the best physio company in London.
Got it. How did you break that kind of mindset and build leverage to that?
It's probably the hardest part at the moment, is balancing that reality that it feels quite risky to take someone on to be employed at the moment, but also you need someone to take a big leap of faith and believe in what I'm doing, and for them to almost have an element of caseload to bring with them.
Okay. 350 business today. You have 9 people now under you. What's the first system you put in place that actually worked?
The first system that worked was very, very quickly I realized that the hour session was absolutely the way forwards.
Okay.
So that was the first system, that kind of shift from the normal model of the 30 minutes and really sticking to my guns about not working with the insurance providers that don't pay our rates. And the first piece of AI that's worked in my clinical practice has been an AI notes transcriber called Heidi. So that's essentially writes my notes for me and means that I can really focus on listening to the client.
It makes sense. And how has your kind of identity shifted, right? From being a physiotherapist now to being the boss or the business owner or the founder?
yeah, certainly has had to shift, because as I was a sort of reluctant business owner to begin with, it was almost a process of elimination that I came to be a business owner. So my identity went from being Charlie the physio to Charlie the physio business owner. And I think because I now really value what it brings to me, that's quite an enjoyable shift. I like it. I like all the challenges that need to be solved, and I like having some responsibilities of looking after a team, helping them really feel happy in their lives, and really feel fulfilled as clinicians. One of my team the other day said it's the happiest she's been as a physio in over a decade. So that was a lovely moment that I thought that is why I do what I do. Yeah, to help more people, and some of those are clients and some of them are physios.
Got it. Love it. What's been the biggest inspiration when it comes to your mother, and what lessons have you learned from her?
Yeah, my entrepreneurial reluctance was partly related to my mum. So my mum has been a serial entrepreneur for most of her life, and unfortunately she never did very well at it, or at least wasn't successful financially from it in the end. But she never stopped trying. That's been the inspiration for me, of just working hard and grinding and grafting. And I think that a lot of the problems was that she didn't have many people around her, and she didn't go to university, and just sort of worked from nothing. And I think that her learning journey was always just about let's just try, and it didn't quite work out, and certainly through no fault of effort anyway. And I think it put me off initially, because I thought I'd seen it be really tough and really financially challenging to do that. But when I realized that I did want to do it, actually it was then an inspiration. Yeah, she's a great inspiration to me, and I probably don't tell her enough.
Great, excellent.
I think our growth journey will depend on having our own space to some degree, because at the moment, the facility we're at, there are times when it's already at capacity. So we book the rooms by the hour. They're not our rooms per se. So if someone books in and there's no rooms available, you then have to contact the client and book another time, which is not the way that you grow a business. So that's why I'm starting to realize that we need our own space at some point in the short to medium term. That will then allow us to create more availability, and for our marketing to expand. It sounds like I know more about it than I do, but I'm learning a lot from the people that we're working with, and that's been great. But yeah, that's therapy world.
Which then brings me back to the question about how would one go about identifying a good physio coach?
Well, luckily physiotherapy is regulated. So in order to call myself a physiotherapist, I have to be regulated, and that's protected. But the coaching side of it that aligns with the way that I now practice is about finding someone where they really want to work with you. They want to help you change your life around recovery, and there's likely going to be some lifestyle change that comes alongside the process. So someone who really takes your views into account, they can help you work towards your goals, whatever they might be. They can adapt a program around it. They're flexible in their mindset. They have principles that they're driven by, but they have a mixed variety in ways that they apply those principles into creating a really bespoke and individualized program and plan for you to recover from.
Okay. And personal branding, how important is that for you and for your business?
I think the personal branding is becoming slightly less relevant for bringing clients into me, because it's a fairly steady word of mouth for me now, and the reviews do their job. So the personal branding now is probably more as a physio owner and saying, I run a physio business and we're trying to do things differently, trying to advertise more to London's best physios, trying to get them to see that, I'm a trusted business owner that can look after them, and it's worth that leap of faith that we mentioned earlier. It's worth coming and joining us, because your quality of life is better. We can give you autonomy. We can help you develop into a better physio, and we really care about helping people get better. There is a purpose that is greater than yourself.
Okay, makes sense. And for people listening in, how big important is that in terms of what's one piece of advice? You've got 62 episodes under your belt right now, if I'm not mistaken, to other CEOs about building influence in the industry.
Be genuine. Actually care. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So you have to actually give a shit. I think people see through the inauthenticity of creating a brand for cynical reasons and creating a profile for that for other gains. So people really want to see that you give a shit about them and about helping people. I think if they get a sniff that there's anything else, then they'll just go elsewhere. Yeah, I think that's the most powerful thing in this day and age. As AI starts to create this inauthenticity, we really need to lean on the authentic self and really doing things for the right reasons.
Yeah, very true. Talk to me about when it comes to yourself, right? And one of the main questions I ask all founders, CEOs, and high performers: how do you stay physically fit, and how do you stay mentally fit?
That bit's easy. I love exercise, so I lean on that better never ends concept, and I'm constantly trying to better times that I've got in my runs or lift heavier weights. And as much as I know that the body as it gets older will deteriorate, there are still things that you can better. And I'm very, very much, I have to practice what I preach. So it's tough though, because creating balance, running a business is busy, being a parent is busy, trying to be the best version of all of those things creates a lot of friction, and it's tough to get that balance right. I love playing sport, and I haven't played sport properly in years. So there are things that I can't quite do as well as I want. I've still got this dream of going back and playing a bit of part-time cricket. So who knows, that some of that stuff might come back, but it's constantly a work in progress. And I'd love to be able to do more journaling. I'd love to be able to spend more time in nature. And these are all work in progress for me. But when I get the balance right, things tend to feel good. Last year in general felt quite well balanced. And this year we moved house and things are not balanced, but we're doing some renovation at home, and it's been a bit more stressful than I'd prefer. But as long as I'm constantly striving to be the best version of those things, a parent, business owner, a physio, and also just be as fit as I can be in the right way, getting a good mix of cardio, strength-based workouts. That probably 1 strength, 2 cardio. I cycle 40 minutes a day for my commute, so that helps. So yeah, lots of little things that I can squeeze in there despite the busy day. I'm an introvert. I'm actually an introvert by my personality trait is introverted, and I've had to really learn extroversion as a skill. So communication has been a real learning journey for me, having to learn how to come out of my shell from probably realized it relatively early in my life, but constantly working on that.
Talk to me about your non-negotiables. What are your non-negotiables?
Sleep has to be somewhere between 7.5 to 8 hours sleep is when I'm at my best. Reading on the way into work. I really see my commute when I'm on the train. So I cycle to the train station, get the train, cycle on the other side. That 20 to 30 minutes of reading time is precious to me. That's a non-negotiable as well. And making sure that I get some exercise in a week, at least 1 strength, 1 cardio, in addition to my cycling commute. And then making sure I spend enough time with my kids. So I do 3 long days in London and 2 short days, 1 in London, 1 at home. So I can drop my kids off at school and pick them up and spend some time with them. I used to work a lot in sport, and when I realized I'd have to work harder in the week, I had to step away from working in sport. So my weekends are now free as well. So I don't work at weekends very often. It's very rare now. I spend more time with my family.
Great. Fantastic. What's the question no one asks you, but you wish they did?
You actually asked it earlier about my mum. Yes, that's the first time anyone's asked me about that. And I know I mentioned it in our kind of warm-up, which is why you mentioned it. But yeah, no one's ever asked me about that or about my family before and the influence that's had on me. It's how my upbringing had shaped that in a good way. You know, we came from nothing. We had no money. And that, I believe, is a real benefit to me now.
Yeah, very powerful. Very powerful. What would you want to be remembered for? So
I want to be remembered as someone who really helped them be a better version of themselves, whether that's my clients or whether that's the team around me.
Love it. Charlie, great having you on the show. That's a wrap. Thank you. Thank you.